Good morning. It's Tuesday, May 4th, and we have begun withdrawing our troops from Afghanistan. And shortly after our withdrawal began, Taliban forces late last week briefly overran an Afghan base before the Afghan forces recaptured it. So when I'm looking at this situation, 20 years of fighting in Afghanistan. And what did we really accomplish? Doesn't look like we accomplished much. We don't have a peace treaty with the Taliban. I'm not sure that the Afghan government can maintain the security that we provided for the last 20 years. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not in favor of staying there. I was not in favor of this war to begin with, but I'm not in favor of staying there. But we're leaving without a peace treaty, even though there are some that still believe there will be a peace treaty. And the Joint Chiefs Chairman, General Mark Milley, or Miley, warned of the potential for a possible bad outcome for the withdrawal. He said the basic withdrawal right now does not indicate this project, he called it a project, success or failure. And he also said negotiated peace is still possible. I don't know how you can negotiate peace if you're leaving. And I know we're going to leave some people behind, but it's going to be a sparse group. So it doesn't really matter what anybody really says right now, since there are many variables in this situation. And therefore, the outcome is not 100% predictable. And we are going to leave behind a security force, and I don't know what that really means. I don't know the size of it, but supposedly we're going to stay involved in Afghanistan in some kind of peripheral, I'll call it, advisory capacity. Now, the Afghan security forces have operated with increasing independence, even though they are still relying heavily on U.S. contractors for support and maintenance. And we'll see what really happens when most of the U.S. forces are gone. And I suspect that many of the countries around Afghanistan may be pitching in to help the Afghan people because they don't want the Taliban running wild in their region. So it's a dicey situation. But in 20 years there, I have to ask this question. What did we really accomplish? And when I think back on the presidency of H.W. Bush, George's father, and when he invaded Iraq. When he invaded Iraq, he was smart enough to realize that we couldn't stay there, that we had no business in that region. So they freed Kuwait, which had been invaded by Iraq, and he left Saddam Hussein in power, and we came home. We didn't get stuck there for 20 years. Because I believe in that part of the world it's very difficult to change people's ideas and their ways of life and their religious beliefs. So I say that for 20 years we fought and we really accomplished nothing. And I feel sorry for the Afghan people. And I feel sorry particularly for the women. Because under the Taliban, any woman seeking an education had to sneak off to an underground school. They couldn't go out in public unless their face was covered with a burqa. The reason being that the Taliban believed that any man who was not the woman's husband would be excited to see her face. The face of a woman is a source of corruption in their minds. This is a form of gender apartheid. Women were not allowed to work. Their education stopped after the age of 8. And the only thing they were allowed to study after that was the Quran. Women were not permitted to go see a male doctor without a chaperone of some kind. They faced public flogging and execution for violations of the Taliban laws. They were forced sometimes to marry under the age of 16. So if the Taliban comes back into power, then we are going to see a segment of society in that country that once again will be beaten down. So the outlook is bleak in my mind. And in addition to the U.S. withdrawing, of course, the NATO forces are going to also withdraw. In fact, they're going to get out of the country, I think, faster than the United States, possibly by July 4th. It's a situation of we're in it together or we're out of it together. And maybe if NATO gets out by July 4th, the U.S. will get out by midsummer. Now, according to sources, the U.S. is still trying to pursue a negotiated outcome in favor of the Afghan people. But even if that happens, who knows how long it will stay in effect. I'm not so sure that even a negotiated outcome will do the trick. And I'm sure that many in our government feel the same way, that this negotiated outcome, if it does occur, will not be the end of the troubles in Afghanistan. And I think we have to pay attention to what happens there and possibly learn something from it. And I think, based upon things that I've heard Secretary of State Blinken say, we will still be committed to support the Afghan people with some kind of contributions. That can be some military advice, that can be aid, foreign aid, as they say. And while we may not have a true force there, Afghanistan may still be a child that we have to take care of for many years to come. I'm not necessarily against that, since I don't believe I want to see the Taliban in power at all. But this withdrawal is a dicey situation. I'm glad it's occurring. I hope we're up to the task, and I hope there's peace in that region, because I don't want to see us back there again. So that's what I've got for this morning, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.